Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bowhunt or Die. Finally, some people are starting to put some feet on the ground and get out, and we're getting into the deer. Oh, okay, they always have their feet on the ground. He always does this to me. Into the woods. Okay, his feet their feet are in the woods. Let's just move forward. Gosh. Justin's over here with this freaking gun show going on. I'm starting to feel inadequate. Show. Yeah, dude.
What happened to your big forearms from all your biking? You not even slacking or what?
No, I don't have big forearms. I got big legs, man. Oh. You want to feel these babies?
Feel these suckers.
All right, guys, listen. First up, we're gonna join Dean, who has a dream come true finally. You know what?
Not everyone. Up and he was Todd Graff.
Oh I know. My gosh, I'm about ready to.
That was my dream.
If Justin gets strangled by the end of this episode, I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but Dean finally has an opportunity to buy a piece of ground, and I know for the most part, his whole season's probably going to change dramatically. I mean, Dean has been a member of our team for over at least 10 years now, and this guy has put down buck after buck. As a matter of fact, I can't think of a time when the guy went tagless personally, or when he didn't mark a tag.
I think there was one couple of years.
Whoa, see, only Justin remembers these little factoids. The way I remember...
Todd's just getting old. His memory's not what it used to be.
Memory's slipping a little bit, but bottom line, Dean has been a buck killer for many years, and he's always been able to get it done, on other people's properties and having access to different places. So now, the real question is, can he take this piece of ground and get it tuned up to the way he wants it so he can put a buck down?
Yeah, I mean, what an awesome story. He bought 40 acres. It's a mile from his house, right? I mean... Next to just being able to step out of your back door like a mile away is about the perfect scenario. His kids are at that right age to be able to go out there and help them and enjoy hunting this piece of property. So we are going to jump right into the truck with Dean. We're going to head out to his new property. We're going to see what he's been up to.
My son Carson and I just pulled in here, and we've got some exciting news for us anyway, that I never thought something like this could ever happen, but we're fortunate enough to be able to purchase 40 acres of hunting land, and we just sealed up that deal here a couple weeks ago, so this is going to be the first time that we're stepping foot on it since we've owned it. It's great property. It's actually 1 mile from our house right now. And over the years, my family, between my brothers and nephews and cousins, one of us or all of us have leased some of this land over the years, probably going 30 years back, 25, 30 years. And it was a total of 120 acres, and we bought 40. My cousins bought 40 next to us, and my nephews bought 40 next to them. So we know it's great land, big bucks all the time, lots of deer, turkeys, everything. So again, I never thought a dream like this could ever be possible for me and my family. So here's a good sign. We're on a new property and probably walked about, I don't know, maybe 100 yards. I'm just walking parallel with the road here, and because there's all kinds of trails that are going across the road where they've been feeding, but there's a pretty good size buck rub here, and it's 20 yards from the road. Carson and I have been walking around a little bit here, probably an hour or so. No sheds yet, but we're kind of just looking over the property a little bit, and there's this big opening here that I've been looking at via aerial photos, and this big opening here is what I'm kind of envisioning that we're going to probably come in here this year and put a food plot in out here in front of me here. So we'll have plenty of work to do, but I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Again, I never would have dreamed that I would have had the opportunity to buy this land. This land has been kind of in our family for close to 30 years, just meaning that it's been leased by somebody in our family. I personally haven't hunted this for probably 20 years now, but now we'll be back in here. Okay, we're headed to the land to do a little work here this morning. Beautiful morning. I don't know, I just pulled out of the garage here, so my truck says 43, but sunny day, not much wind, so it's gonna be a good day to spend a little time outdoors. Right there's looks like a deer skull, looks like a doe. Here's something we don't really want to see either. So it's coyote scat, I guess would be the proper way of saying it, and it's full of deer hair right on the trail, and turkeys gobbling in the distance here, so that's a good sign of spring. All right, this is what I kind of envisioned for this fall, where a lot of our work's going to be in this spring and summer, but this opening that we have out here behind me, we're going to cut all this down and end up putting a food plot in here. As you're going to see, there really isn't any big trees here, so we're going to have to do something a little bit different with blinds, or like a tower blinds or something, but it's a, you know, it's got cover all the way around it, so it's kind of like a nice little honey hole here, a hidden spot that you can't see. Guys, I don't claim to be an expert when it comes to any of this, but I do know that what I want to do is, it's so thick along there, and with putting this food plot in here, I want to just provide a couple openings, like lanes more or less, just going into the marsh. There's a lot of windfalls and tree falls from the tornado, so we clean that up, and I want to make it like an easy access for the deer to come right out. So that opens it up quite a bit, actually. Took out a few limbs in here. My thinking is do an overhanging branch right here. We'll leave this here. Probably do a mock scrape right here. Kind of direct it that there's kind of a good opening to come in right to the corner of the food plot. All right, guys, I'm standing right where it's actually, this is an existing, an old food plot right here, but we'll probably till it up. Here's where we'll be putting a food plot, but I'll show you what my last couple hours of work that I did here. And what I'm doing is creating, got that lane. You can already see the deer trail there, but again, with the tornado coming through, there's trees down all over it, but a little bit of work with a chainsaw, and we're getting it cleared out, so I'll show it to you guys.
Farming is our life.
Hunting is our life passion.
We know that in both, it's what's planted in the ground first that matters.
And that's why we choose Antler King food plot mixes.
Our results speak for themselves.
Antler King, bigger bucks, healthier deer.
All right, well, Dean's got his new piece of property. As we can see, he's putting some new food plots in, which I think people sometimes underestimate the amount of work that goes into putting new food plots in. Like, once they're established, I feel like they're a little bit easier, but that first year of going in, and number one, figuring out where to put them, but then number two, working the ground up and getting them planted, as we saw, was a ton of work. And, you know, Todd, I know you've had your farm for, I don't know, probably a decade now. Yeah. I mean, what were some of the challenges that you had when you bought your place and you were in Dean's situation?
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, you dive into this new piece of property. You've got all these goals, right? The goal, the vision's simple, right? You go to bed at night just thinking this food plot's going to appear and this big buck's going to appear in it. That's the dream.
That's how it works, right?
That's the dream that we all have. And yes, in the right cases, that can come together. But there's no doubt, Justin, you know, you dive in a piece of property, I think about some of the stuff that I've done, and now that I'm actually having to take some habitat out to kind of rechange some things, because it doesn't always turn out the way that you think it is. In areas where you think deer are frequently going to more, you find out, maybe they're not using that as much. And sometimes you can ruin a good spot as well. So you really got to take the time to really kind of figure that out, know where those key trails are. I like what he's doing with kind of creating those natural trails, give them a little bit easier access into those food plots. I have done that on my place, and I have seen that definitely pay dividends. I've always liked doing the screen and bedding cover between property lines. I mean, there's sometimes cases where you just don't have a nice wood lot, you don't have something to give you that barrier. You can have the greatest.
It's super important for food plots in particular to be able to get into and out of them. Like, one of the hardest parts of food plots, not necessarily like getting into them in the evenings because the deer are usually bedded down somewhere, but getting out of that food plot at night when there's deer all over the place, it's really a hard thing to do. And I think that's where some of that bedding screen that Dean's planning in there is going to really come into handy for entrance and exit and hopefully not spooking deer.
Absolutely, definitely.
So, what we saw Dean do, just kind of as a recap, was rented a mower, a nice billy goat, which I'm very familiar with using those things. They are a lot of work. They will beat you up for sure. But he goes in there, he spends 5 hours brush hogging everything down. He sprays it all with Roundup to kill it all, and then he puts Plot Max in there at the same time. So he's putting a fertilizer down into this ground, which is super, super important for the first time you're planting a piece of ground because generally speaking, they're pretty deficient on nutrients. I mean, you know a little bit more about this than I do, but in my experience, that first year or two is usually the hardest to get stuff to grow well.
There's not, and a lot of people just underestimate nothing's been there. A lot of times people won't take the time to do the soil test, and you have to do it because you're going to find out that they do need a lot of additional nitrogen. They do need some additional pH, added. So you got to build that base up.
Yeah, and I think that Plot Max is a good way to kind of get things jump started. So he goes in there, sprays it, kills everything, works it up with the little disc. He's using a Groundhog Max, which I've got the same one, and it works great for those small plots. Not all of us have big tractors like Todd, so
I knew this was coming.
You got to do what you got to do. Worked well, planted it, and then he actually went through and he cultipacted or he rolled on top of it to get that good soil to seed contact, which is something that I've been missing. I need to get a roller here at some point in time. But man, he's done all the steps. It'll be interesting to see, how well those plots take and then what the hunting looks like come fall.
I think he's going to be. I think he's done everything right. Only time will tell. I know that he can definitely kill deer. We're just going to have to wait to see now if they start to show up.
There's an actual deer in there worth killing. So it'll be cool to watch along with Dean's journey. I'm sure his kids are going to have a blast out there as well this fall. Guys, next up we're going to check in with a brand new team member, Cody Kasinger over in Kentucky. You briefly saw Cody a couple episodes back when Matt Miller and I went down to Kentucky. We met up with Cody. He was cool enough to show us around on some of the public that Matt and I plan on hunting. And now Cody's going to take us out to his super secret spot that he did not take.
And I'm sitting here watching Justin taking notes, man. He's in here looking at trees.
No,
Cody, you may be giving your stuff away.
Cody offered to take us to his other place. It was just a little bit too far away from where Matt and I wanted to go. So we're going to introduce you guys to Cody now. So let's take a look.
Hey guys, Cody Kasinger here. I'm the newest member of the Bowhunter team, as some of you viewers had probably seen in a couple videos before where Matt Miller and Justin Zard come down to Kentucky to scout some public land, and I had met up with them. I strictly hunt public land here in the state of Kentucky, and that's actually where I'm at right now. I actually come back to a spot that I hunt religiously here in western Kentucky to do some super early season scouting and kind of go over the strategies, from my season last year, because my entry and exits just wasn't on point, and sometimes I wasn't patient or I didn't follow my gut on what I needed to do because I had some really good deer on camera that I didn't want to bump out of the area. Well guys, while we're out here walking around until I get to the spot that I want to go to, I thought I would take the time and try to give you my story on how I got brought up in the outdoors. At a very young age, I remember my dad always went hunting and stuff whenever he got off work or on the weekends, and there was always a deer mount somewhere in the house, and I was always kind of fascinated by them. Well, we owned a pond right off the side of the house, and I remember I go out there and I would just catch fish all day long. I never wanted to stop fishing. Well, then my uncle decided he wanted to take me turkey hunting for my first time whenever I believe I was 10 or 11, and I never shot one, but it was just experiencing me going out there. And I remember me hearing the first gobble of the morning, and I was ate up with it right then and there. And then a couple years passed, and I believe I was 13 or maybe a little bit younger. He had taken me hunting on some public land here in Kentucky. I was just antsing to move. I was ready to get up and go, and he just kept telling me to sit still and, you know, shut up and be quiet, or we're not going to see anything. Well, I praise him for that, because that was the moment that I officially got hooked on deer hunting. Because right before we was about to leave, you know, he had told me, he said, well, let's just sit another 15-20 minutes, and a doe come running out of the field. And I raised the gun up, and he told me just to put the crosshairs right behind the front shoulder and squeeze the trigger, and I did. And I remember that 30-06 just knocking my shoulder off. But the excitement that ran through my body, it was the most exhilarating thing I've ever felt. And still to this day, I'm hooked on it, and I can't get enough of it. I don't gun hunt, but bow hunting has always been a passion for me ever since my mom and dad bought me my first bow. And I was 15 whenever I got my first bow. And I remember me going to a buddy's house after school, and we went hunting right behind his house. And I shot my first deer with a bow that afternoon. It was a spike. And right then and there I knew that it was game over. I was never going back to a gun. I was going to strictly bow hunt for the rest of my life. And here we are. I'm 27 now, and that's all I do is bow hunt and strictly hunt public land. I didn't grow up on, you know, a family farm, or my family didn't have the money to go lease property or anything like that, so public land has always been my resort, I'm sorry. And it makes it so much more rewarding whenever you harvest a deer off of public land, especially a mature deer. But anyway, we're coming up on a spot up here, so I'm gonna jump off the camera for a little bit and kind of sneak around just to see if I can actually come up on something up here. So alright, so I'm going to take a little break here and give y'all a short story of a deer that I had seen on hoof twice in person. And I actually found him dead this spring whenever I was shed hunting. And I wish I would have got aggressive with this deer, because I think I could have probably killed him. I didn't know where he was bedded at, but I knew I was in a really good territory with him, because there was rubs all over the place in this area. And there was actually a community rub that these bucks were hitting right, it's probably not even 80 yards from me. I'll walk over there here in a second and show it to you. But I had seen this deer twice on hoof, and I was afraid I was going to bump him out if I would have got real aggressive with him. And somebody else had shot him, and I found him dead. And I ended up getting a salvage tag for him and took him home. But it just goes to show you that when you're hunting public land, you never know what's going to happen or what you're going to see. But if you got a good deer on hoof and you know he's in the area, you really need to try to lock down on that deer and get aggressive with him and try to kill him. But I'll show you some of these rubs that this deer was making. Well guys, I have made it to one of my most productive and favorite spots to hunt on this piece of public. The amount of deer that I had seen out of this single stand that I always come to was unreal. I don't know what it was about this spot, but I had always seen deer every single set. I seen does and bucks every single day that I sat in here. I rattled in a real tall 7. I seen a real wide 6 come up from behind me. I almost shot a 10-point off this ridge right here. This is the tree that produces the magic right here. And I was actually sitting right there, let's see, right there in the middle of the wedge. And I just couldn't believe how many deer I was actually seeing. I ain't got much time left. I've got to get back into town and meet up with the wife. We're going on a dinner date this afternoon, so I'm going to get out of here. I got a long ways to go. I got probably about a 1.5 mile hike to get back to the vehicle. Get out, go scout, and until next time, bowhunter die, guys.
I'm always excited to see the young guys. You know what? This is going to be good.
I wish I was still the young guy, but I'm not. Cody is the new young guy.
Well, listen, he's full of piss and vinegar. I can tell that he is going to be, dude, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see whether you, him, or Matt get a buck first on public land this year down in Kentucky. I'm sorry, I know he's
So
got
what,
the
now it's a
advantage.
competition?
Dude, I love competitions. I make everything competitions.
Matt and I are
It
hunting
keeps-
for like 3 days.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You guys, that 3 days, it is a competition.
Fine.
At the bare minimum, the Trophy Doe contest will be in effect, which we still need to get all those details put up onto the website because that's going to be important for sure. Because whether it's a buck that goes down or not, there's going to definitely be some good prizes to be had with the Trophy Doe contest. So one of you two, or three, excuse me, is going to at least win that or have a chance to.
So is it a competition just amongst us
No,
for that
dude,
weekend, or
that's
the
for
whole
you
year?
three. I'm going to personally make a competition for you three guys. That's going to come from me. Have some fun.
Fair enough. So
I
I'm gonna
want-
have to
I want
figure out
Cody
ways
to win.
sabotage Matt and Cody. Fair enough. Look out, boys. Well, it was cool to see a new guy on the team. You know, we got a new state. We haven't had a lot of Kentucky presence in the past, so it was awesome to have Cody on the team. Looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do this fall. Hopefully, he is not successful the weekend I am with him, and then he has much success after that, since it's now a competition. But guys, next up, we want to thank the people who sent in their trophy photos for this week's show. We're back to the deer photo since turkey season is over, so let's take a look at some whitetails right now. Eric Lowen,
Jeff Raymeyer,
Joshua Del Porto,
Matthew Browning.
and Nick Stock.
Hey guys, those are always some great photos. We enjoy looking at them. It looks like this week's winner is going to be Nick Stock. You are the winner.
From New York.
New York.
Nick from New York. So thank you to Nick for sending in your photo. Make sure you get your information over to us. We will get you that Hunter Specialties prize pack sent out your way. I think that's all we got for the show for this week.
I think that's all we have too.
Hopefully it stops raining for like a day so I can go do a little bit of tree stand and food plot work myself. I'm planning on Sunday. We'll see if the weather holds out.
Dude, I've got nothing. It's ridiculous. I mean,
And now the
seriously.
mosquitoes are coming out around here.
It's bad.
so
This is going to be
it's-
interesting.
It's not good. We have been flooded out. It is out of control with the rain. Please, Mother Nature, stop raining. So we'll check back with you guys next week right here on Bowhunt or Die. We'll see if we haven't floated away by then. Thanks for watching, guys.
Welcome back to another jam-packed episode of Bowhunt or Die.
It's so good.
It is so
It's
good,
such a
guys.
good episode.
It's such a good episode. You are going to love this. Now we have to restart this, so we're going to take a 2 on.